Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. Once her holy sword was unleashed, dazzling golden light covered the entire sparring arena. Yi Gai's flourishing holy aura buffeted her clothes and made her even more elegant and enchanting. She deliberately compressed her holy sword's radiance continuously, making her sword stronger. There were quite a few people spectating this fight. Besides Ji Juechen's close friend Jing Ziyan, Xu Sanxia, Jiang Nan Nan, and Xiao Xiao were also here. Swords didn't have eyes. They were afraid problems could arise in this fight, and someone could get hurt. Xu Sanxia, who was known as the Eternal Defense, should be able to dissolve any dangers at a crucial moment. Xu Sanxi's mysterious underworld displacement was more than suitable, and even Ji Juechen couldn't break through Xu Sanxi's defenses with a single strike after he had completely evolved his Xuanwu shield, even if he used his full strength. Ji Juechen's eyes were luminous, but his expression was always ice-cold. For him, no matter who his opponent was and what his opponent's abilities were, he would break them with one strike. That was his sword heart. Yi Gai's eyes were still as stern as ever, but they had now become entirely golden. She tapped lightly on the ground with her left foot, and her wings stretched out behind her back. Yi Gai seemed to be defying the pull of gravity, as she gradually floated upwards, and the holy sword in her hands became even brighter than before, as if she were holding a small sun in her hands. Ji Juechen suddenly took a step forward with his left foot, and his sword intent that had just surged into the sky abruptly descended. He hadn't unleashed his sword yet, as his sword intent came first, and sharp sword intent instantly plummeted from the sky and rained down towards Yi Gai. However, a pink ray suddenly burst out from beneath Yi Gai's feet. Without any warning at all, Nan Qiuqiu was making her move. Light of annihilation. That pink light beam seemed translucent and clear, and it stretched across more than 10 meters without dissipating. Ji Juechen suddenly pressed down forcefully with his left foot, and a rich and vigorous aura transformed into grey sword intent that almost seemed material as it erupted outwards. The pink beam clashed against his black sword intent, and was instantly annihilated. However, that black sword intent paused for a moment, and couldn't attach itself to Ji Juechen's judgment sword. Yi Gai was quite proficient at grasping opportunities, and she immediately slashed out with her holy sword. A brilliant golden beam, that resembled a stunning rainbow, that seemed like it was going to slice the entire sparring arena, in half descended from the sky, and went straight for Ji Juechen's head. Ji Juechen finally used his judgment sword, and pressed down with his left foot once more. He leaned forward and supported himself with his toes as he lifted his judgment sword into the sky. Ji Juechen's 7 soul rings sparkled at the same time in that instant. Ji Juechen was different from almost every single other soul master. Soul rings were equivalent to a soul master's life force, and determined how powerful their soul skills were. This meant that soul rings determined how powerful a soul master's abilities were. But for Ji Juechen, his soul rings effects had become entirely redundant. He didn't care about what soul skills his soul rings gave him, and he didn't even think about what kind of soul rings he had to attach to himself. He was only concerned about his soul rings boosting his physique and his soul power. Ji Juechen's pure sword intent was his own unique invention, and infusing every single ounce of his strength into his sword intent was something that was engraved deep into his bones. Black light soared into the sky as the darkness side of Ji Juechen's judgment sword burst out with black light. Darkness was naturally at a disadvantage against the holy element. However, once this darkness reached a certain level, it would become so powerful that not even the holy element could suppress it. The black light that surged into the sky instantly consumed the golden light that was slashing down from the sky. Golden light exploded and flashed inside all that darkness in the next moment, but the rich and powerful black sword intent was like an evil dragon, as it swallowed every inch of Yi Gai's golden sword light. Yi Gai was unwilling to resign herself to defeat as her first and second soul rings sparkled at the same time. Holy light illumination and holy praise. Intense golden light emerged from her body once more, and white light flickered at its core. This light didn't just land on her body, it also covered Nan Qiuqiu below her. Nan Qiuqiu pushed forward with her right hand, and a pink layer of light appeared as it transformed into a pink fan-shaped light that expanded outward. Her second and third soul ring lit up at the same time, and she lifted her left hand as pink light cocooned both herself and Yi Gai. Annihilation barrier. Ji Juechen couldn't disregard that pink light no matter how powerful he was. He took another step forward as black sword intent erupted from his body once more, and clashed directly against Nan Chocho's pink fan-shaped light. Ji Juechen slashed down through the air with his judgment sword, and the black sword light, that was condensed in the sky, sliced down from the sky like a black lightning bolt, going straight for Yi Gai. Yi Gai's eyes were solemn and grave, as she raised her holy sword once more. This time, her second soul ring lit up, and her holy sword changed from gold to an incandescent white, as she slashed back at Ji Juechen. This was her angel's second soul skill, Holy Ghost Slash. Boom! Intense explosions caused the entire sparring arena to tremble. Fortunately, the Tang Sect's sparring arena was spacious enough, and the two who were fighting deliberately controlled the spread of their attacks. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult to ensure that the sparring arena remained undamaged. Yi Gai and Nan Chocho were quite powerful when they teamed up, and even Ji Juechen's sword light was weakened when it touched Nan Chocho's light of annihilation. His sword light was far too dense and concentrated, however, so Nan Chocho had a hard time absorbing her opponent's strength to feed back into her own body through annihilation's effects. However, Ji Juechen's attack was still weakened to quite an extent. Ji Juechen and Yi Gai collided forcefully once more, and Yi Gai was still on the losing end. This time, she was sent plummeting from the sky, though she wasn't hurt, because she had used so many soul skills, and she had Nan Chocho protecting her. In the moment that Ji Juechen's black sword intent touched Nan Chocho's pink light, Nan Chocho placed one of her fists into her other palm. Deafening booms that resembled thunderclaps could be heard in the next instant as large patches of pink light exploded one after another. Chained annihilation explosions. This was a powerful area of effect skill. Ji Juechen could only temporarily defend himself, as his sword intent faced off against Nan Chocho's chained annihilation explosions, and he couldn't continue attacking Yi Gai for now. Furthermore, his sword intent couldn't condense within her chained annihilation explosions like when he was attacking. Part of his sword intent was blown to smithereens, and that peculiar pink light swallowed everything up as it fed everything back into Nan Chocho's body. This was the Ruby Dragon's annihilation element's most powerful attribute. Nan Chocho could use her opponent's strength to replenish herself. If Ji Juechen's sword intent hadn't been powerful enough, she would have absorbed even more. She could weaken her opponent while strengthening herself at the same time, and even some who were stronger than she was could lose to her in the end. Yi Gai managed to catch her breath with Nan Chocho's help as light burst out from her beautiful eyes. How could she be convinced by her loss to Ji Juechen with her arrogant personality? She tapped lightly on the ground with the tip of her foot, and glided forward. This time, every other soul ring's lusters was withdrawn, and only her sixth and final soul ring sparkled brilliantly. Her wings flickered as two illusory wings of light glimmered faintly. Yi Gai resembled a waltzing angel, as she drifted towards Ji Juechen, and her holy sword became a pristine white longsword as her elegant frame became illusory, as she glided outward. It was impossible to lock onto her body. This was Yi Gai's strongest soul skill, angelic dance. This wasn't Nan Chocho's first time teaming up with Yi Gai. Nan Chocho watched Yi Gai unleash her angelic dance, and her last soul ring lit up at the same time. Nan Chocho's black 10,000-year soul ring sparkled, as a pink diamond-shaped crystal glowed dazzlingly on her forehead. A single bright and crisp dragon roar rang out from behind her back, and a pink dragon shadow flickered behind her back. A dash of pink light swiftly caught up to Yi Gai and attached itself to her body, while Nan Chocho's body also became a little illusory. Nan Chocho's fifth soul skill, annihilation body. A body that was formed from the power of annihilation would shimmer into view once this skill was used. This body would be identical to Nan Chocho's own body, and it would even possess part of her spirit. This skill's most formidable trait was that it could enhance Nan Chocho's annihilation element by 300%, and her opponents would have to break through her form of annihilation first if they wanted to hurt her original body. At the same time, her annihilation body would form the foundation for Nan Chocho to use other powerful soul skills when she became stronger in the future. Ji Juechen used his sword and swiped a Z through the air as he faced Yi Gai's angelic dance, and black sword light covered an enormous area. However, Yi Gai didn't have to defend herself as the form of annihilation that was attached to her body rushed forward. Pink light flickered incessantly, and Ji Juechen's sword light was actually decimated just like that when it touched Nan Chocho's form of annihilation. Nan Chocho couldn't absorb her opponent's strength to feed herself through her powers of annihilation when she was using annihilation body. However, her powers of annihilation would also be raised to their highest possible level, and even Ji Jueqin's coagulated sword light was dispelled. Even though Nan Qiuqiu's annihilation body became a little more illusory after that collision, the chance that this collision had created for Yi Gai was enough. Yi Gai's angelic dance closed in on Ji Jueqin, and her white longsword shone with brilliant light as countless streaks of sword light rained down on Ji Jueqin's body. Ji Jueqin had just attacked with his sword before this, and he was currently in a state when his strength was weakest. However, his expression didn't change at all even though he facing such a disadvantageous situation, and he pulled his judgment sword back lightly as he flipped the sword around in his hands. The sword's black surface suddenly became white, and its darkness was instantly converted into light. When Yi Gai's holy aura clashed against the body of Ji Jueqin's sword, which was now filled with an aura of light, the sword's body erupted with dazzling light. Ji Jueqin raised his sword horizontally before his body, and he exclaimed vigorously as a bitingly sharp and cold sword intent suddenly emerged from his body. Black sword intent became white, and darkness became light. Everything happened very naturally. Yi Gai's angelic dance clashed against his sword intent just like that, and Yi Gai had no chance to evade Ji Jueqin's counterattack at all. Nan Qiuqiu's form of annihilation had been forced away after she dispelled the Z-shaped sword intent, and her annihilation body couldn't rush back in time. The power of annihilation was incredibly strong, and Ji Jueqin's sword light, which currently possessed the power of light, instantly became a lot dimmer than before. However, the strength of Nan Qiuqiu's annihilation body was ultimately limited, and she didn't dare to use every ounce of energy in that body, as she could risk damaging her origin if she did so. The pink light transformed into a beam of flowing light and flowed back into her body, while Yi Gai returned to her side at this moment. Their faces were a little black. They had used their full strength, but they were still unable to obtain any sort of advantage. You guys are no match for me. Go back and work harder. Ji Jueqin didn't continue attacking. He withdrew his judgment sword as he turned and walked away. Nan Qiuqiu's pretty face grew even darker than before. Why is he being so condescending? The winner of this fight is still undecided. How does he know we are no match for him? Yi Gai forced out a bitter smile as she said, forget it. If we are no match for him, then so be it. We are no match for him now, but that doesn't mean we won't be his match in the future. He has shown me mercy before this, and when he converted darkness to light, he borrowed my strength. If he had used his full strength in that attack, I wouldn't have been able to emerge unscathed, and your annihilation body might have been damaged as well. Furthermore, he didn't use his martial soul true body. I didn't expect the gap between us to be so huge. Nan Qiuqiu hugged Yi Gai across her shoulder and said, don't be so dejected, Sister Gai. He's older than us, and we will surpass him one day. Ji Jueqin was still nearby, and suddenly stumbled when he heard her words. Jingxian was following behind him, and couldn't help but laugh at Nan Qiuqiu's remark. Ji Jueqin was only a little over 20. Could he really be considered old? However, he was actually the oldest one amongst these people from the Tang Sect. You're back, eldest senior brother. Nan Qiuqiu suddenly exclaimed and jumped for joy. She completely disregarded a certain someone's despondence. Bei Bei walked in from outside, but his expression seemed a little grave. He waved to everyone and said, come, let's talk inside. Bei Bei took everyone into the Tang Sect's conference hall. Everyone sat down, and besides their subordinates, everyone here formed the Tang Sect's core. Nan Qiuqiu couldn't hold herself back anymore, and blurted, how is it, eldest senior brother? Is there news about my mother and the others? Bei Bei nodded and said, we have intel. The good news is that they are all fine and still alive. The bad news is, they are indeed in the Sun Moon Empire's hands. Nan Qiuqiu leapt to her feet, turned and was just about to walk out. Fortunately, Yi Gai moved quickly and grabbed her in time. Bei Bei frowned slightly and said, don't be rash, Qiuqiu. Let me finish. We have to save your mother, but do you think you can do that and bring everyone back by yourself? Bei Bei's voice became a lot stricter and severe towards the end. Nan Qiuqiu pouted, and tears welled up in her eyes. Nan Qiuqiu and her mother had depended on each other since she was young, and her mother had doted on her back in the Earth Dragon sect. She wouldn't have developed such a prideful and arrogant personality otherwise. Joining the Tang sect and leaving her mother's supervision was a happy event for her, but that didn't mean she wasn't still close to her mother. Quite the opposite, Nan Qiuqiu had a very close relationship with her mother, and her mother's danger and peril made her as anxious and frustrated as could be. Everybody within the Tang sect's inner circle quickly arrived at the conference hall. Yi Gai pulled Nan Qiuqiu to one side and sat down, while everyone else sat down in their respective seats. He Kai-tu, Shu Sansha, Jiang Nan, and Xiao Xiao were all present. Over at the Seoul Tool Hall, Xian Ziwen and Gao Delu didn't participate in the Tang sect's policy decisions. They were only immersed in their Seoul Tool research, and didn't typically participate in such conferences. Mo Xian was at Shrek Academy's inner courtyard to further his training, as the inner courtyard placed a lot of emphasis and effort on his nurturing and education. Everyone is here. Let's begin the meeting. Bei Bei was sitting in the main seat as he spoke with a grave look on his face. According to the Academy's intel, the Sun Moon Empire have unambiguously and outrageously announced that the sects and academies that participated in the tournament are in their hands. They are still alive for now. Shu Sansha cut in and said, "What are they trying to do? Are they taking the initiative to declare war on the Doluo continent's 3 native empires?" Bei Bei shook his head. They haven't officially declared war, but this means they are even more treacherous and vicious. The first consequence from their announcement is that the Sun Moon Empire is officially antagonizing the sects and academies who have people in the empire's hands. But at the same time, they have also told us unambiguously that those people are in their hands, and this will lead to the second consequence, that we will be afraid to fight against their evil for fear of harming innocents. Bei Bei surveyed everyone around him, and his eyes paused for a moment longer when they came to Nan Qiuqiu. Think about it, guys. Everyone who was able to represent those reputable sects and academies in the tournament were elites of the younger generation. Almost every single one of them will become future cornerstones and mainstays. In addition to them are the teachers of the teams, who had brought them to Radiant City, or even sect leaders who personally came forward, like the Earth Dragon sect. Everyone is now in the hands of the Sun Moon Empire. What does this mean? He Kai-tu, or Shu He, was a lot more handsome than before. He lowered his voice and said, "This means that the various sects and academies won't dare to use violence against the Sun Moon Empire lightly. At least, they won't do so before they rescue their compatriots." Bei Bei nodded and continued, "That's the first possibility. The second possibility is that those academies and sects will venture into the Sun Moon Empire to save their compatriots, and they will mire themselves in their enemies' traps if that happens. The Sun Moon Empire will break them down, one by one. At the same time, with this restraint in place, every country will have to consider the opinions of those sects and academies who are powerful enough to affect a nation's high-level fighting strength, if they wish to make a move against the Sun Moon Empire. The Sun Moon Empire can take this opportunity to regain their strength and replenish what they've lost. Their strategy has killed 4 birds with 1 stone, and it is very treacherous and cunning, indeed. Then what should we do? Are we not going to save them?" Nan Qiuqiu couldn't help but feel a little worried and anxious. Bei Bei said, "Calm down, don't be hasty. Of course we have to save them, but we have to plan and scheme before we make a move. Our actions will be counterproductive otherwise, and we will achieve the opposite of our desired result if we try to save them rashly and without prior planning. Don't worry, your mother will not be in danger for the time being. At least, she will be fine until the Sun Moon Empire decides to officially launch an invasion. The Sun Moon Empire's hostages will be valuable to them until they are actually prepared to start a war. This will take at least 1 or 2 years." Nan Qiuqiu settled down a little as she listened to Bei Bei's calm analysis, and nodded pitifully. Bei Bei continued, "Everyone must have noticed that certain entities are not included among the people that I mentioned who are afraid to take action against the Sun Moon Empire for fear of harming innocents. Shrek Academy and the Body Sect. The Body Sect is considered the Heavenly Soul Empire's national defense sect, and they will do something to save the Heavenly Soul Empire Soul Masters who have been captured. Shrek Academy is incumbent and bound to our duty. At the same time, the Tang Sect doesn't share the same fears." He Kai-tu glanced at Nan Qiuqiu and said, "Eldest senior brother, do you think that the Tang Sect participating in high-level conflicts between empires will?" A worried look appeared in his eyes as he spoke. Nan Qiuqiu slammed the table in front of her and leapt to her feet. She glared at He Kai-tu and said, "Such a waste that you've grown up to be so tall and big. Are you afraid?" He Kai-tu frowned, and Xiao Xiao cut in before He Kai-tu could say anything. She leapt to her feet as well and said, "What did you say? Afraid? Do you think we're afraid?" He Kai-tu hugged Xiao Xiao at her waist with one arm. He was tall, so he could still do that easily even though he was sitting down. He pulled Xiao Xiao back into her seat, as he turned towards Nan Qiuqiu with a calm look in his eyes. I hail from the Sun Moon Empire. More accurately put, I come from the Sun Moon Empire's royal family. More than 10 years ago, my father and several hundred of my family members were murdered by the previous Sun Moon Empire's emperor, who has just passed away not too long ago. He Kaitu recounted his story calmly, as if he were talking about something that was completely unrelated to him, and not a single ripple of emotion appeared on his face. In the beginning, Nan Qiuqiu was a little surprised, but her reaction gradually became one of intense shock. Her pretty face flushed red, and she desperately wanted to hide herself in some hole in the ground. I'm sorry, Nan Qiuqiu was a little arrogant and pampered, but she wasn't an unreasonable girl, and she hurriedly lowered her head and sat back down. He Kaitu smiled and continued, it's all right. You're losing your cool because you're too concerned. We will brainstorm and discuss this carefully, because we have to find the best solution and strategy to save your mother. Saving the Earth Dragon Sect's members will be our topmost priority. I am just worried that the Academy will not let us participate in this operation, so we need to have a detailed plan before we think about taking any action. Bei Bei nodded and said, that's correct. We need to have a detailed plan before we take any action. The Tang Sect is just starting to take shape, and our foundations are still unstable. At this time, we can only assist everyone else in this operation. The Academy will be the main strength, which will venture forward to rescue the hostages. Even if the Academy's operation fails, the Sun Moon Empire cannot vent their anger on anyone. However, the Sun Moon Empire must have already made sufficient preparations, and they are just waiting for us to walk into their trap by ourselves. Therefore, this rescue operation will be extremely difficult, and we must ensure that we are absolutely prepared for anything and everything before we take any action. So Qiuqiu, I need to remind you that you must trust everyone, and you cannot do anything rash by yourself. Rashness and impulsiveness will not resolve any of our problems, and your only choice right now is to trust us. Do you understand? Nan Qiuqiu nodded lightly. Bei Bei continued, the Sea God's Pavilion's various elders have already discussed this. In terms of strength, rescuing those hostages under the watchful eyes of the Sun Moon Empire's throngs of soul engineers and the Holy Ghost Church's evil soul masters will be exceptionally challenging. We have sent out scouts to figure out what's happening in the Sun Moon Empire and figure out their situation. At the same time, this isn't the right time for us to launch a rescue operation. The Sun Moon Empire must have already made sufficient preparations if they dared to handle this issue this way, which is just a little short of declaring war. Therefore, we have to wait, and we have to wait until they are a little less vigilant for us to have any chance or opportunity at all. Nan Qiuqiu didn't say anything anymore. She seemed to have learned her lesson from before, and she was a lot calmer and more composed. Yi Gai glanced at Nan Qiuqiu and asked, how long do we have to wait? Bei Bei shook his head and said, I'm not sure. We have to wait for the most opportune moment, and everything depends on the intel from our scouts, and also on the Academy's plans and arrangements. We can no longer make any decisions about a conflict at this level. Everyone, hurry up and cultivate. Any increase in strength is a powerful guarantee for us. I've already applied to the Academy. Tomorrow, Dean Yang will personally bring Nan Nan and Xiao Xiao to the Star Luo Forest to find a suitable soul beast for their 6th soul rings. Sansha and Kaitu, go along too. This will give you peace of mind. While the Yin-Yang Love Querying Valley did cause them many injuries, some of them benefited, too. Of the Tang Sect members, 4 of them had experienced an increase in soul power: Huo Yuhao, Wang Donga, Xiao Xiao, and Jiang Nan Nan. Of course, this also included Wang Qiu'er, who had disappeared. Among them, Xiao Xiao and Jiang Nanan's soul power had reached rank 60. After they returned to the Tang Sect, the 2 girls had cultivated to solidify their foundations. They now needed to obtain their 6th soul rings to become soul emperors. After the 2 of them rose in rank, Huo Yuhao was the only one of Shrek's 7 monsters who had yet to rise in rank. However, Huo Yuhao's soul power had increased by 5 ranks. He was very close to rank 60. Everyone nodded. The increase from 5 rings to 6 was not as difficult as the increase from 6 rings to 7, but it was still a huge milestone for soul masters. The increase from Soul King to Soul Emperor was an exponential increase in power, which would further strengthen the Tang Sect. Alright, let's do this. Everyone, hurry up and cultivate. I'll inform you about the rescue operation as soon as I can. Dismissed. Everyone started to leave. However, Nan Qiuqiu sat there for a long while before standing up. Yi Gai, who had been sitting next to her, asked in a low voice, "Qiuqiu, are you all right?" Nan Qiuqiu shook her head and said, "I'm fine." "Sister Gai, do you really think we can save my mother?" Yi Gai sighed and said, "On the continent, if there's something Shrek Academy can't do, then no one else can do it. Please don't do anything dumb. All we can do is wait. Since Bei Bei has spoken, the school will naturally make its own arrangements. All we can do now is cultivate with all our might. The important thing is to strengthen ourselves. You should endeavor to become a soul emperor as soon as you can. All of our martial souls are special. The stronger we are, the more powerful our unique traits will become. Let's work hard together." "Okay." Nan Qiuqiu nodded vigorously. "I'll do my best to save my mother." Yi Gai gave her arm a squeeze and said, "I don't know what happened to him. Ever since our return, he seems to be doing nothing but training. I heard that he almost escaped from the jaws of death. I don't know what he's doing." His lover, Nan Qiuqiu, silenced her with a gesture. She shook her head and said, "Let's not talk about Wang Donga. It's taboo for all of us. Originally, I hated Huo Yuhao. However, he's pitiable, indeed. This time, in the Yin-Yang Love Querying Valley, he lost the girl he loves the most. Now, he is turning his anger and grief into strength for cultivation. It's really..." Yi Gai grunted and said, "He's a freak, but he's strong too. Let's go and cultivate. One day, I'm going to beat him." The entire Tang Sect was training and cultivating intensely. While the Tang Sect had no powerful people to back them up, they were undoubtedly the most powerful group of young soul masters on the entire continent. Their growth would surely impact the world of soul masters. Darkness. Everything was dark and silent. One could not even see one's hands. Smack. A sound rang out. A shadow flew into the air, and something stopped it. A strong hand had grabbed it. Light jade green light started to shine, giving light to this pitch-black world. The jade green light shone from someone's body. It came from Huo Yuhao. At that moment, his hand had grabbed a small vat, which contained extremely strong alcohol. He opened its seal, and the pungent smell of alcohol appeared in the secret, black room. He lifted the vat and drank the alcohol down in huge gulps. For a normal person, one small cup would have sufficed. The green light on his body shone even more intensely. After his return from the Clear Sky Sect, Huo Yuhao chose to go into closed-door training. For its silence, he chose the deepest part of the Tang Sect's Soul Tool Hall for its silence, where he dug out an area to be his own cultivation cave. Here, he would not be affected by the outside world. He cultivated furiously in absolute silence. This time, his closed-door training was do or die. If he did not reach his target, he would not leave. His objective was simple. He wanted to open the passageways in his legs once more, allowing the origin energy of ultimate ice, which he had absorbed in the ice-fire yin-yang well, to fully flow throughout his body. He had cultivated behind closed doors for almost half a month. In this half a month, he had completely calmed his heart. Even though there was no way he could suppress his thoughts, he slowly returned to the intensity of the time when he had just joined Shrek Academy. It was an indescribable sensation. In this cultivation, he did his best to improve himself. At the same time, he tried to fuse his spiritual power, his soul power, his ultimate ice, his spirit eyes, and even his necromancy, which he had derived from the divine law of necromancy, and which had been taught to him by the calamity necromancer Electrolux, into one. In the past few years, his power had increased rapidly. His twin martial souls gave him an innate advantage. In this period of time, his paralysis was not necessarily a bad thing, as it made him realize that innate talent was not everything. Right now, he had managed to accomplish something even titled Doluor found difficult. He was combining of all his powers as he tried to refine them. His strong spiritual power gave him the ability to do so. Aided by the distilled wine, he was able to absorb the origin energy of ultimate ice faster and faster. His soul power also increased quickly. Cultivating an ultimate strength martial soul was hardest before one possessed 7 rings. However, as Huo Yuhao's soul power was increased by 5 ranks after the Yin-Yang Love Querying Valley, coupled with his continual absorption of the origin energy of ultimate ice, this process became a lot simpler. All this while, he had felt as if the increase in his soul power had reached a bottleneck. His soul power was becoming stronger, but he did not feel it increasing. The soul power he had absorbed from the origin energy of ultimate ice appeared to be hidden in the bones of his 4 limbs, and was unable to fuse with his own soul power. When he first started, he was worried. After a while, he understood that he had reached a bottleneck, and this bottleneck was for the 60th rank. He himself could not believe that he had reached rank 60 so quickly. In fact, when he took part in the Continental Elite Youth Soul Master Tournament in the Sun Moon Empire, he was in a state of high alert and constant fighting. Bei's injuries meant that he had to carry the banner of the Tang Sect. As he fought, he improved non-stop. With all his might and energy, he brought the Tang Sect forward, and even helped Shrek Academy out. Regardless of whether it was actual fighting experience, or just plain hardship, he was the one who bore the most of it among everyone from the Tang Sect. His return from the jaws of death, from the yin-yang love-querying valley, had allowed him to further demonstrate his full potential. It further sharpened his body and mind, greatly increasing his soul power. Coupled with his final reward of an increase in 5 ranks, he was finally able to reach rank 60. Had it been any other soul master, he would have ecstatically started searching for a soul ring once his rank reached a multiple of 10. However, Huo Yuhao did not do so. The passageways in his legs were still blocked. Furthermore, 10,000 years ago, one of the founders of Shrek Academy, Ancestor Yu Xiaogang, who was widely known as the Grandmaster, said that when a soul master's soul power reached a bottleneck, it would not stop increasing because one stopped adding soul rings to it. If one had a chance to further increase one's soul power, there was no rush to look for a soul ring. As long as one added a soul ring later on, the excess soul power from the earlier cultivation would still materialize. Hence, Huo Yuhao was in no rush. His target was to finish absorbing all of the origin energy of ultimate ice in his body, returning his body to normal. Like this, he would return to his optimal state. As for getting a soul ring later, it would all came down to luck for a spirit-type soul master like him. It was better for him to focus on cultivation and solving his issues now than to search for a ring, which required both time and luck. Furthermore, he could sense that after the fusion of his abilities, the overall increase in strength would be more delightful to him than the increase in soul power. He understood that this was a chance that he had to seize. He could still clearly remember Elder Mu saying that to become a soul master, one had to find one's own path. At that time, Huo Yuhao had believed that finding one's path was to find a direction for cultivation. At that time, he had chosen the Tang Sect's secret techniques. Elder Mu said nothing. Instead, he let him cultivate according to his own plans. Right now, Huo Yuhao slowly started to understand what Elder Mu meant by path. It did not mean the direction of cultivation, but instead turning one's own strength into a straight, flat road. Huo Yuhao had found the entrance to this road. He was slowly walking it, and to him, this process of understanding his powers was more important than improving his ultimate ice, or any other of his abilities. His own powers would improve through this process, and Huo Yuhao deeply believed that once he completely understood his powers, his strength would increase exponentially once again. This video will end here.